right, if we can find it. There it is. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to this morning's meditation and just getting organized here as we get rocking and rolling. We are driving, interesting choice of words, but very relevant for the Merkaba because our Merkaba is literally like our own personal rocket ship, if you will. It is our star powered system. It is the unit that is like the machine that powers us up. The Merkaba could be considered like the internal spaceship, if you will. If we're considering ourselves to be star beings. However, for today's intents and purposes, the way in which I really want us to be thinking about it is far more simple than that. Um, we have body, mind, and spirit on the upper half. If we think of the upper pointing triangle, we have much more of the mind function, and the lower pointing triangle, we have the body function or the subconscious. And meditation, as we know, is about identifying our metas. It's about helping the mind achieve the highest level of consciousness, if you will, or identifying the best signals, the best frequencies to run within the entire field to achieve the Metatron code, which is a code of dimensional coherence, being able to bridge all of the dimensions that we hold as humans in this third dimensional plane all the way out to all dimensions of consciousness and existence, because that's our gift, right? We have as humans this capacity, this ability to bridge all of these dimensions and bring them into coherence. So this is what we're here to do. And the Merkaba is our blueprint for achieving this. The Merkaba is really how we achieve that coherence. And so there are a couple of fundamental components that make it possible for us to achieve it, that are important to understand in terms of the nature of who and what we are as humans and the core function of how things work and how they exist. The main one being that all things spin, right? If we think of, from a human perspective, everything we perceive, everything we do from a story perspective, like good storytellers tell stories in loops, right? They tell things in a circuitous manner. They open a loop and then go on and tell a different part of the story and then bring it back around. And you're like, whoa, right? Like that's really incredible storytelling. Still working my way there. When we tell stories in sequential order, it doesn't always necessarily work as it's effective, right? We understand the sequence, but that's a much more human function to do things in a linear order. If you think of the DNA, a spiral, right? A DNA helix, it's spiraling. Everything in its true nature is in a spiraling pattern. And so to understand truly how things are programmed into our system, how energy is programmed into our system, how our energy itself is patterning in our system, we get to understand that it actually is spinning within our own system. So when we're going in to identify a thought, identify a feeling, it's much easier not just to go in and sense and feel it. That's the human function, is to feel our way in. But if we're able to actually spin our way into it, we're going to get there much quicker. We're going to be in the nature of how the thought and the emotion and all of the other constructs are actually stored. And we're going to be operating in the way that it actually was coded and processed and programmed energetically. I'm not speaking on the physical level, but energetically into our system. So I share that because the nature and what we're going to be up to today as it relates to the Merkaba is all about spinning. Merkabas spin. They have, as I mentioned, that mind function of spinning on the top component is really for the three. I'm speaking very metaphorically here and esoterically, but on the 3D construct is a spinning mechanism on the top half of the body. So it's going to be spinning on the top half. For the lower construct, it's or the downward facing triangle, the lower part of the field, you could think of it as your subconscious or the earth part of the field. It's going to be spinning in the opposite direction. So when we're opening our field of energy, meaning the inner component, right? Because your your mind is always processing essentially what's just stored in the system. Your mind is sitting here in here, you're observing, and it gets to analyze what is happening. So I want you to take a moment. We're going to do this not super conventionally as we do with meditation typically. And I want you to think about for a moment a desire that you have, something that you just desire. And it can be as simple as like, I am desiring oh, actually, I want you to keep it simple, like your morning routine. I'm desiring my cup of, for me, a cup of chai tea. Maybe for you, it's a cup of coffee in the morning, or to get outside and watch the sunrise. Something very simple that you do every day. That if it doesn't hit your morning routine, things kind of go askew, right? But it's a deep desire for synchronization, for booting your day, for booting the system. And I just want you to think and to feel into that desire for a moment. And go ahead and take a breath into it. Feel into that for a moment. Beautiful. All right. Now that you have the desire, that desire is coming from a deeply rooted space. It's a deep part of your programming because not only have you turned it into a habit, but it's most likely created connection, right? Our bodies are like operating systems. They function like operating systems. When we plug in to the earth, to the land, to our routines, we either boot the proper system in the morning. If we boot and think stress instantly and like the to-do list before our feet hit the floor, we're going to boot the wrong system. If we think light link and golden light before our feet hit the floor, we're going to boot in a different operating system. If we think of this desire and feel into that, we're going to boot into our root system, our root chakra, like more of that earth energy. We're going to boot into that lower Merkaba. All of these things are critical to how successful the entire rest of our day sequences, because we're running more full parts of our energy system. So stay with me here because we're going somewhere. Today's theme is connecting us to our purpose because we're tracking in pure flame today. So bear with me. I want you to feel that desire. Now, if that desire is coming from a deep habit rooted space, it's going to come from deeper in the field. And I know you can feel that because I've been speaking to your feet. I've been speaking to something much deeper than just a desire like, I'm craving, I feel like I should have this thing on a much more surface level. So take a breath here. And I want you to feel that desire work its way up through your system, right? And as it comes through your system, I want you to imagine it coming through your hip bones. And from the hip bones, start to think through the different organs that it begins to process through. It comes through the hip, it comes through the gut. And actually, the gut, we've talked about the gut, 10 trillion bits of information per millisecond. The gut moves through the kidneys. The kidneys are our blood's primary filtration system. We have two major filtration systems that are in a physical sense there, and I'm going to miss a lot of them. We have adrenals, we have the stomach, we have all kinds of so many systems that I'm going to skip over. But as you think about that seed of that desire for whatever it was, cup of coffee, I'm going to label it, as it pings through, notice how you could think of this seed of a desire pinging like a ping pong ball, working its way up, trying to hit your mind. And yet think about how many different variables and factors it's bouncing through, the different filters I've mentioned. I just mentioned at least four. We haven't even hit the heart chakra yet, right? And then we get up to the shoulders and we arrive at our shoulds, what I should be doing, what I shouldn't be doing, our external perceptions that we bring in, the weight of the world that we carry. And take a breath here. Did it suddenly get heavy just to go get the cup of coffee? Do you see how quickly you could have just by thinking about what you should and shouldn't be doing, you could divert yourself from that fundamental, necessary component to your day of booting the proper operating system? Just because we triggered a should, an energetic should with the rest of the world. I know I'm committed, right, to my should, like to not running in my should operating system, but just feeling the energetics of the matrix and the shoulds from the outside world. Let's go ahead and clear those out, right? Because those are heavy. I'm having trouble even getting us through the rest of this sequence. So, what happens when we start to hit up in the shoulders is we start to shift fully into the mind. So, notice how we've gone from that downward facing triangle and we've started to shift into the upward facing triangle, into the projections. The moment we popped into those shoulds, we turned it into the projections. Projections are what is the external experience of that cup of coffee? Because let's think about what's behind that desire. What's behind what we labeled as, I labeled it as cup of coffee. For me, it was cup of chai, but it's also connection to nature, right? It's connection to ritual, to routine, to self-care, to starting in integrity your day, to being methodical, to being disciplined, to honoring. All as I label what's behind those desires, what's really behind that cup of coffee, to feeling the moment, to being present, to remaining in control of your field. Notice how we just brought that lower triangle back online and didn't allow the upper triangle to hijack the mind, the shoulds, the projections. What do projections become? They can become our projects. Projections become projects. So notice how, as we brought the true desires of what was behind the cup of coffee, all those lower layers up and through the system, we allowed it to spiral up and through the system in ping pong off of all of the different filters. And everybody here has pretty strong filtration system, meaning they're very clear. But you can imagine if you're imbalanced in any of your fear mechanisms. Fears are false expectations appearing real. So if for some reason, for example, if I were to start getting pings on my phone right now from one of my kids who's about to get on a plane and whatever, all of a sudden, like I am going to be, we know I'm going to cut this meditation short and, or I'm going to get distracted and start, right? Because I'm going to start getting pinged in the kidneys. Kidneys hold the fear response. So it's going to be hard for me to stay on track, right? We know that that filtration system is going to be off. If I'm managing grief or betrayal, it's going to be hard for me to regulate that desire or the cup of coffee, those desires through the heart center. You see how these different filtrations run through the different emotions. And if we can't regulate that lower triangle, or that lower triangle has stuff that's activated at any given moment because the system isn't flushed out and clear, how it's going to, by the time we hit the projections and the projects up at the shoulder blades and we start to really activate that upper triangle, we're going to be running, we're going to be challenged, right? To really run our field, this Merkaba, in its full power, which is what we're about to do. Because, and this is just the average human. You can see how some people who, if they're blocked and locked in that lower field, are totally dysfunctional, and how they can stay completely just running mind mechanism. And that's going to be anxiety, that's going to be stress. You can see how it can become easy just to stay keeping functioning on the projects and the projections and the goal list and everything else, because you can keep everything stable with only that upper triangle functioning, but there's no power in it. All of the power comes from that lower Merkaba. And the true power comes from when we disconnect, which we're going to do in a moment, all of the fuel sources that are coming into it. And we run it from our heart. We run it from our star seed. We run it from our star power, if you will, our root lineage of that divine essence that lives within us, our Metatronic light that comes, streams in from really from our DNA, from the Hara chakra, from the true source of who we all are, which is that universal connection to one. Because if we're feeling that streaming in, none of the rest of it matters. We're able to regulate and flush and clean all of the filtration systems that are programmed within the body. So that's where we're going now. We're going to spin this Merkaba up. We're going to allow it to flush out. I want to have everyone take a nice deep breath in and an exhale out. We just did a very basic kind of tour, if you will, of the human constructs that the Merkaba and the average human is plugging into. Now we're going to do the meta version of your Merkaba. So nice deep breath in. Let's still stay tracking with that cup of coffee, but I want to have you really, really feel into that deep-rooted sense of connection. Deep-rooted sense of connection. We're going to do this high, tight, and precise. We've got about 5 minutes left in this meditation. I want this for each of you to be something that you can like snap your fingers and activate this. So let's dial in our light link super fast. The light link connects us to the bigger field around us, that energetic. And the moment I said that, I felt all of you go straight to the sun. That was so fast, so cool. Sun instantly activated. I know some of you had already done it as we just came in. So feeling that sun activated on the top of the mind, top of the head, and you can feel it almost like incubating, like an egg forming around us as the Merkaba begins. It's like a humming started, right? The moment we plugged the light into the top of the field, the top of the point, or the top of the triangle, it was like boom, it just started spinning and going to the bottom of the field and feeling the earth activating now and letting that earth charge of the bottom point of the triangle plugging in. And that plugs into the earth, the crystal quartz at the center of the earth. So all we've done here is just mainline our two power charges, the two power sources, giving this Merkaba its actual power center. Note, the power centers are not the projects you're working on. They are not the people, as much as we love the people in our world, they are not the people we love and support. That's codependency. When we have those offlines, we can give from overflow, but first this Merkaba has to run from our own power lines that we're drawing up and through the earth and down and through the sun. So everybody looks like this battery plugged in with a power line of rainbow light coming up from the earth that is spinning the lower triangle and spinning in the opposite direction, the upper triangle. So I want to have all of you just feel yourself dropping into the center of these two forces and start to spin. For me, lower triangle is always counterclockwise. So I want to have you feel it and go for it. Like really let it wrench. And I mean that intentionally, like jar and lid twisting off. Really feel that sensation like a glow stick cracking open through your belly, through the gut, at that third to fourth chakra connection. That's where this lives. It's our hara chakra, and there's just a crack that gets to happen when that lid screws open and that field pops. Just give yourself a twist, kind of squeeze. It's a inhale. This is the breath. It's an inhale. Take a nice deep breath in. And at the same moment, squeeze and compress against it. And so it's an inhale, holding the belly extended out and squeezing and compressing against. And that's the dynamic tension of really activating, imagining twisting that jar open that's hard to get. And as you hold that field, hold that breath, and then releasing and just letting yourself glide and do that. Let's do it 2 more times for a total of 3. Maybe you want 4. 4 would be okay also. Nice deep breath in and squeezing against the inhale. This is called a Mula Bandha breath. You can do it activating all the way down into the root. You can squeeze all the way down to your pelvic floor. And in a moment, if you don't feel it already, just brilliant, bright white light, as though you have been staring straight at the sun, but it suddenly exploded inside of your belly. But it's not only inside of your belly, it's blasting through your inner vision. And I can hear, for those of you that are much more auditory, like a hum of those two fields, one running fully. Part of that squeeze was we were releasing for that Merkaba, that lower field, to run counterclockwise, super speed, super fast, without any cords attached to it on the lower unit. And then in the opposite direction, clockwise for the mind, up above. And I want you to just sit in silence and feel that field fully activated. We're almost at 9 o'clock. We've got 2 minutes left. I want you just to sit in this field, hold it, breathe in it, let it spin. And everything that's spinning off, in the same way a washing machine pulls the dirty water out of the clothes, let your field, let the spin extract the density within. Now, Merkabas are a portal. You are in an open portal right now. If you want to stay on and portal hop, you are welcome to do that. Just come back and ground yourself, feeling yourself re-landing with the earth and the trees and nature and the room around you. And for those of you who are ready to come back, I really actually just like holding this. We're here to do dimensional coherence, so hold it. It's not necessary to go and to dream and go big, right? The more challenge, the greater challenge is to hold this field and be here and be real and to draw in the room and to cohere the day, to cohere the call and the work that's about to get done, to get pumped, to get excited, to allow this energy to stream in to where the steps you're about to make. The coffee you get to be about to drink, the chai tea, the conversations you're about to have, the energy you're about to activate through the day. to go cohere all of it, those dimensions, those realities, to bring people into this field. This is the magnet, you holding this. So often we think it's about going out. Bring it in, draw it in, draw them into you, to this. This is the power. Reverse the spin, bring it in, claim it, make it your own. This is our gift. How many layers and dimensions can we draw into this unique space? How many people can we enlist and enroll and activate themselves in this incredible space? This is you doing you in your most Metatronic, brilliant way possible. So cool, so powerful, so proud. This is what we came here to be, to do, to feel, to sense, to be. So, with that nice deep breath in, give yourself a big hug and just bring the system down and let it live in your heart on a nice, slow rhythm, right? Still with that hum going, with it activated in your heart space, with the mind being able to draw from it as it needs, with the field beneath your feet engaged, active, alive, but with you holding this autonomous, alive energy field, sourcing and drawing from earth, from your soul stream, from your fields, bringing in what's needed, what's alive. Make it an incredible day. Namaste.